So, hey, welcome everyone. I have a very special guest joining us today. One of the members in the Fit Body program, Anthony Arico, and we're going to be hearing his story today about how he went from a spare tire having low energy to now having virtually abs at the age of 50. He got him by the age of 54, having much better levels of energy, all without ever stepping foot inside of a gym. So, Anthony, thank you so much for taking the time. You are obviously you manage multiple, if not all of Long Island. So I want to, for in regards to the financial field. So I want to thank you for taking some time out here and joining us today. How's it going, man? How we doing?
It's going great. It's going great. I appreciate the time, the talk. We've been kicking around a lot of stuff over the last 9 months or so. So it's good to kind of be here and get going. So
Cool, man. Yeah, and it was good to see you. Obviously, I moved out to Long Island last month, and we were able to connect last week. And I was sharing with Danny, who introduced me to you. I was sharing with him how, like, man, this guy he's a genius. But I also
let me get my wife out real quick, and you can repeat that.
Awesome, man. But I also want to share with everyone that for each comment you leave, we will be donating $10 to an organization that supports special needs, children, education, and everything involved there. And we're going to share a bit about that as well. And there are no limits to the amount of comments that any individual person can leave, up to $1,000. So with that said, Anthony, I'd love to hear from you a bit about what your background is, a bit about who you are as well.
All right, great. Yeah, sure. Well, I'm a father of three daughters, ages 23, 20, and 17. My youngest one's about to head off to college here pretty soon. I've been married to my wife, Courtney, for 26 years, I guess now, 26 and a half. Actually live in Connecticut, but work on Long Island. Been working with the same company for 33 years, all in the New York area. Originally from the Oklahoma area, so I came up to New York to go to school. Been up here ever since, and love it. I'm a suffering Jets fan. Keep just when they kind of bring you back a little bit, they whack you. So and that's been an adventure. And then having gone, I went to school in the Bronx. I went to college in the Bronx, and had back in the mid '80s became a Yankee fan as well. So enjoy life, fitness now more than then. Always kind of been on this long journey to try and take care of myself a little bit, but it would ebb and flow over the years, and that's been the struggle as to how do you get consistent. And yeah, I mean, here we are, and I was blessed to meet you, and I mean, I can go into that, but I was really blessed to meet you through one of our good buddies here. But that's my Reader's Digest story, and I'm sticking with it. So
Cool, man. Thank you for sharing that, Anthony. And could you share with us where you were before the program, just mentally, emotionally, physically?
yeah, sure. So I'm strangely enough, I'm not a big guy. I got a kind of a small frame, but I for whatever reason can carry a deceiving amount of weight, and that strains on me. And so when I was, believe it or not, I'm 55 now. When I was in my early 20s, I was through some corporate screening. I was diagnosed just by chance one day with severe high blood pressure and high cholesterol. I think my blood pressure when they tested me there at the little clinic was like 180 over 130. And my cholesterol was, 300. And I was like, oh my God, here I'm like 23 years old. And I'm thinking to myself, so I got super focused and hyper focused on all that. And my answer to that was work out like crazy and don't eat. And so I got way down, I lost a ton of weight, and I was working out like eight and a half days a week. It was insane. And, I got down to like 4% body fat. It was crazy, but I couldn't enjoy life. It was terrible. I mean, I wouldn't eat anything. And or if it was just like very basic stuff. It was like I sustained myself on like a rice and broccoli or something. And so that was kind of it was a little bit of a wake up call for me that there's some level of importance and health and all that. But what I was doing was so extreme that it was just not sustainable. So I entered on this journey, and even then it was really tough to get the numbers really where I wanted them to be, in terms of body metrics and stuff, blood pressure, cholesterol, all that stuff. So I entered this kind of journey of medication over the years, and then getting on an exercise plan and off and on and off and on and off, whether it's the gym or running around, jogging, half marathons, whatever, to try and do stuff. But it was usually kind of event driven and usually in spurts of, 3 to 6 months or something. And then I would just get disinterested and sort of ebb and flow. And it wasn't sustainable. And it was, just not fun. And then the frustrating part was, is this how I want to live my life? So then I would just kind of get off it, and then I'd find something new, Orange Theory or something, and then do that for a while, and then not, or P90X, and then not. And so that was always kind of a wrestling point for me. It was just tough, and again, not to kind of jump into this, but when I was last year, I was looking for just something that was sustainable that could help me feel better, because I was, I've got these 3 kids. I want to live a long life. I want to be around for them. I want to be around for my wife. I want to enjoy ourselves. And it was tough to sometimes just get up and move and not be achy and fit clothes, have them fit right. And you see pictures and you don't like the way you look, and there's just a number of things. So then I remember going to a work dinner last year as I was just kind of looking around for stuff, but not really sure what to do. And I ran into our buddy Danny Burns, who, I came out of my car. He was getting out of his car and he's walking. We hadn't seen each other a lot during COVID. And I looked at him and I'm like, holy Christ. I'm like, well, what happened to you? I mean, he was like all GQ, fit and thin and, looking sharp, and his custom clothes and all this stuff. And I was like, wow, because he's a big guy. And he's just like, oh, God, let me tell you. And he went into, the whole deal. And we sat there for like 2 hours at dinner, and he was just talking about you and this and that. So, I felt like, sometimes you come to those pivotal points in life where things they're crossroads and events happen, and you can either embrace them and do something with them, or they could just pass by like a bird or something, just going on by, and yeah, it was pretty cool, and off they go. And in my business, in the investment business, we always talk about the internal rate of return on things, whether it's an investment or your behaviors. And so I was like, hey, I'm thinking, am I going to let this go? Or is the internal rate of return on this experience and this engagement with Danny, is it going to be something? Am I going to get a lot out of it? And so I started looking around and doing a little bit of research on you. And this was the last October, and eventually kind of got up the wherewithal and the courage to just, to give you a call and see kind of where it went. And you and I had, we connected, like, I want to say the last week of December, I guess, last December, and started just chatting. We just had a good conversation. You were interviewing me, I was interviewing you. We're kind of just feeling each other out, because it's got to work for both of us. And it took off from there. And I was, the research, by the way, and when I was researching you and learning more about you, I just saw that you it seemed like a lot of your clients were men in the, 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, and sort of that, working life, dealing with a lot of similar issues that I am dealing with. And that resonated with me. Plus your general positive disposition, helps. So, but that's kind of how I kind of got to you. and kind of my stretch there. But I really just want to feel better. I wanted to get more energy. I'm hoping to be able to get, reduce the medications that I take. And even if for some reason I can't as much, I know I'm a better me. And that's really what's the most important thing, for me is we got one life to live. I want to live it well. I want to live it with purpose. And I want to live it in a really good way with my family and my friends, and just feel good about things.
I love that you said that you want to live a life, with really the highest quality life you can live with purpose. And speaking of, could we almost backtrack a bit? I would love to hear about, because we are also doing this in an effort to raise and donate to this organization that helps with special aids in regards to children.
Right.
Can we talk a little bit, meaning like purpose? Could we talk a bit about the connection there as well?
Sure. Yeah. So of my three daughters, my oldest one has always had a connection to children with special needs, whether they be children with autism, children who suffer from Down syndrome, just any number of kids that were in this public school system that were just didn't have a real easy path. And what was interesting is with her teachers often called on her to help, either whether it's calm or engage with kids. And this is going back to grade school, who had just challenges out there and that most children run away from. She would run to. And so she got involved with a group in town that created a community center, which would essentially just give children a place to go who had similar issues and could engage and just connect with people and be with people. And the place that she started out with, and they've since spawned, so she's working with a few different places right now to help get energy around providing a forum for children to be able to work together. And actually, a lot of these children she's 23, so they were in grade school with her or various forms, and now they're entering adulthood, and they need similar services and a similar community-like feeling that is tough for them to get. So she's been working to help deliver that. And it could be as easy or something as simple as, a place to go on a Saturday where they kind of hang out together and just do various things, to, picnics outside, to they've actually created a horse and a barn facility where they have horses at, and they can get together and the kids can ride and get riding therapy. And then, in fact, the last few Saturdays, she's been going there because they do like a little carnival there that help raise some money, and people come and they, pet the horses and they do some stuff, and they, sell hot dogs and beer and whatever else they can for kids. So she's, and it's funny. I was like, are you IDing people? And she's like, oh yeah, yep. I'm making sure they're all legit. So anyway, but she's really into that, and it's good to see. It just makes you feel good about the character of a person who's willing to do a lot of that. So that's how I got connected, and so I'm just following her lead.
Wow.
Yeah. So
that's amazing. I find that even true in the work I get to do is I definitely do find myself getting inspired by my clients, and I begin to do things that they're doing. Like, as an example, one of my clients taught me to walk and talk, and that's something I didn't think of before. And just like different things my clients do to inspire me. So it's really cool to hear that you found inspiration from the work that your daughter and
yeah. And it's funny. You look for that, and I always use the term. I'm not super original. I'm more than willing to plagiarize good ideas from you or anybody. I'll give everybody else credit. I don't care. There's enough good ideas out there. It's just, again, about grabbing the good ones, acting on what works and resonates for you. And so, yeah, but no, thanks. Thank you.
100%. I feel like It reminds me of one of my favorite quotes is from Pablo Picasso. He says, "Good artists copy, and great artists steal."
Yeah.
But no, to your point, I love what you said. You not only have that idea, but then you need to also act on that idea for it
Yeah.
to come to fruition. So with that said, what are some things that you have acted on in the past that maybe didn't work? Things that you tried that were more like fads and unsustainable?
Yeah, sure. Well, um, there's a couple things. Anytime that you use the term, I guess, diet, so to speak, in my mind, it carries a restrictive negative connotation, whereas a meal plan has a more positive connotation. So it's like a mindset, because I don't want to go through life being restricted. So anytime I had quote tried to diet or something, it just wasn't working or not sustainable. Um, the exercise programs, you dive into these programs, you go somewhere. First of all, like just going somewhere, to whether it's to a gym, which is to me madness, because it's all it is, just chaos, a bunch of people in a room with flinging stuff around. And it takes you 20 minutes to get there and get settled in. You got to fight for space, and then you come back, and so it's an extra like 40 minutes of wasted time in my day. So it was never really fun. And then you go on these, like even like a Orange Theory or something, which it's fine, it serves a purpose, but it just, again, I got to go there, I got to get on these machines, I got to do largely the same stuff. And I don't know, after a while you kind of just get tired of it. And plus it gets expensive, and and there's no great bargain there. I've tried a few different things. I think I mentioned to you, I for years ago in my mid 40s, I tried the P90X program, which is pretty extreme. I cycled through it 3 times. And I mean, it's a lot. It's like an hour and a half every day, pretty much, hammering your body. And it's 3 months of just really tough torture. And then what? You do it again and again and again. It's just not sustainable. And it was actually causing, I think, more harm eventually than good. And it's, I was sleep deprived. It was every, I mean, just to get the workouts in before work, it's like 4 o'clock in the morning, and it was crazy. But one thing that I always realized that I did need was some form of structure. And to me, that is key, because when I don't have structure, I lose a little bit of that purpose. I lose just my way, and it's too easy for me to just drift and not focus, and then I'm not doing what I'm doing, or skip or whatever. So I needed something with structure, which is kind of why I always went to these things, but then it's just too much. And which is when I've found you, it created a good balance. And I'll mention something in a little bit, but it created a good balance of structure and and sort of a life and knowledge and everything, kind of food and meal planning. It just all kind of came together. And I didn't feel like I was on a sprint of some sort. It's just part of the journey, and with the life skills and so forth. And I'll never forget, in one of the early conversations that you and I had, I said, well, how long is this whole thing? And what is and I kind of I had to reconcile it in my head, but I also was that I was triggered to go back to that. All right, is this an event? And your comment to me was, no, I mean, there's your goal in this whole process is to give me the skills and the mindset to be able to live this life on my own, in my own, my own way, on a forward going basis. And not that it's like, we flip a switch on and flip a switch off. Yeah, there's structure around it, and we put some stuff together, and we can get into goals and all that stuff. But you gave, I think just having that, sort of teaching me to fish mentality, was real important to me, and that resonated very well with me.
Yeah, 100%. I like to say that the goal of a good coach is so that you don't need them anymore. Like you can learn
Right.
how to sustain the lifestyle on your own.
Yeah.
100%. And just for everyone to understand, what was the exact goal that we did achieve within our first phase, our first like 90 days of working together? Because it's one
Yeah.
thing to hear from my mouth, but then another thing to hear from yours.
Well, so you had asked me kind of what I wanted to accomplish out of this, and I believe that things like that. I mean, yeah, you can have help getting structure and your goals, but they have to be internal. I think in order to be sustainable, because ultimately it's me. Yeah, I'm using your strength and your structure and your model, but I'm learning from you. But ultimately, I have to be the one that's going to do this stuff, or again, it's not sustainable. Um, Originally, I didn't necessarily have a number. It wasn't just about weight loss. My goal was to just feel better and be a healthier version of me, it would kind of all come together. But in putting together something concrete to kind of work towards, um, I said, all right, what seems like a reasonable place to start? And to me, that was, I don't know, I just want to get 10% smaller. And that number kind of came to, I think I started on paper, I was like 167 or something with you. When I started, I was probably closer to 170, after breakfast and, every day. But I'm like, let me just get 10% smaller. And that's about, 16, 17 pounds. That would get me down to around, around 150 or so or whatever. And I'm small, I'm like 5'6". So I was trying to it seemed like a reasonable thing to shoot for. And then I knew, I didn't want to fixate on it too much, but that I was going to come in that neighborhood and have a bandwidth of a couple pounds over, a couple pounds under. I wasn't going to get too nuts with, with life, and making that the center focus of my life. But so that's what I started focusing on. And that's what you and I, we kind of you built a meal plan for me and an exercise program. And we got going and I kind of, it was amazing to me in the first month or two of trying to be really smart about it. And before it, I use this term before it normalized, because it takes about 3 months or so, 3 or 4 months for it to really normalize, where it's all second nature and I'm not thinking about it as much. It's just there. And but just kind of sticking through that. But stuff's just, when you start to be careful about and mindful about what you're doing to your body and with yourself, it's just like your body's like, it rewards you and quickly. And I got to where, my sort of my 10% number in like 3 months. And then I just kind of kept, and you kind of refine and everything. And, now I think I come in around like 145 or so. And that's a good place for me, as long as I have balance. And you and I have worked on balance, and having a little more elasticity in certain areas of the meal plan, and so forth. Because, it was kind of funny. You and I, when we were talking, I was on my way up to Vermont the first time we spoke.
That's
And
right.
I'm
You're in the
pretty
car, I
sure,
remember.
yeah, and I'm pretty sure that I was going to be drinking a bunch of beer with a bunch of my buddies for, a stretch. And we talked about that. And, I said, look, I like my beer and, and it's just part of it. And then you said, well, I said, well, how much, what's my sort of suggested Ursulon approved beer intake or whiskey or wine or whatever intake of, and you said, yeah, 4 drinks. And I was like, okay, I can do that. I was thinking day, week, whatever. And you're like, a month. I was like, oh. So we talked about that openly because, again, and it's funny because, while that was always a nice part of my life. You said, look, it's up to you. It's your life. Some people are like going to just continue to do that and they're going to not get the same results. And some people will. Ultimately, it's your choice, what you decide to put in your body. And so I was, I had I reached like you helped me find a good place with that, which was, you can still enjoy the things that you like to do in life. Just kind of pick your spots, be smart about it, be thoughtful about it. And I found the harder I worked at getting better and cleansing myself and being a better, person, the less I needed or wanted to engage in drinking as much beer and all that stuff. So, I still have, a beer here and there, and I do whatever. I'm just more thoughtful. Maybe I'll have a light beer instead somewhere, or I just won't, or I'll, when I do, I don't worry about it too much because I'm hanging out with my buddies and we're going to have a good time and we're going to do our thing. But it's not like every day or every, a couple of beer, the COVID beers twice a couple a night or this, all that. I don't need that. And, I just drink a ton of water. That helps. And, and when you're working hard and you're doing everything you can to live this better life, you find that, your desire to do those other things goes down. Yeah, it was, it's been a pretty cool journey here with you and me and my family and everybody who else is along for the ride. So
I'm really happy to hear that. One thing I love hearing about is like the ripple effects in regards to, obviously you've achieved this result. You've dropped 20 pounds or 17 pounds in 90 days. You went off to drop 22 pounds in total, and now you've kept it off for the 9 months we've been working together now. One thing I'd love to hear is, obviously you've had this external transformation. Was there an internal transformation that you also experienced? And if so, could you maybe talk about that as well?
Well, I guess I would say, internally, I mean, there's a lot more clarity in life, and your thinking, your mind's a lot clearer. I've gotten better, believe it or not, sleep. I sleep better. I have, moments where I'm bopping around and life gets in the way. But I look at those things as more internal, because while they're physical and they're important, it also, it cleans your mind out a lot. I think, again, internally, just taking care, it's like clean body, clean mind, better body, better mind. And that's been really good for me. It also helps you when you're engaging with other people. And it doesn't hurt when you're out doing something, you're playing golf or something. Someone's like, oh, you look like you exercise all the time. And I'm like, well, it's not really all the time. And actually that's another point that I don't want to miss. But when you and I were setting up this, there's a nutrition plan, meal plan, and there's the physical aspect. What I was surprised with is early on, you're like, yeah, it's not like hours or whatever a day. It was a 3-day program, mostly, a lot of walking, a lot of, drinking water and so forth. But, it was started out, it was like, 20 minutes sessions, 3 times a week. And, we amped it up over time, and now it's a lot more involved, which is great. But it wasn't overwhelming at first, because that would have been, for a lot of people, that can really, set you off and so forth. But
we also talk about the steps, because I think some people could hear a lot of walking and maybe they might think, oh crap, I got to walk 10,000 steps. And you and I both know that we're not hitting those numbers.
Yeah.
Basis. So maybe could you talk a bit about that?
Yeah. It's funny when I check in, with my weekly check-ins and so forth. The walking has always been the toughest part, especially because I commute a lot. I'm in the car. It's tricky. But I am out a lot. Like when I play golf, I try and play, whenever I can, and I'll walk. And I'll carry my bag. So that's basically a hike, for a while. But the challenging part for me was getting those steps in. And we talked about it, and just constantly moving. If I always use a stand-up desk, walking around your office and so forth, but taking the time to go. So a couple of things that I did, because I was always way short on my steps. I would go in clumps. Maybe on the weekends I have more time, I go out for hikes, or my daughter and I try and go out a lot. My middle daughter, we walk a lot. Or go to the beach and walk. But it was tough for me. And there were a couple nights where I'm going to go to the basement and get on a treadmill somewhere and just walk inside because I got to get steps in. So it was it became more of a challenge for me and more work, and wasn't a pleasant part of it for me. So I decided to not really stress about it and just get back into, look, like anything, like all these workouts, like every rep, it was always about just do your best, just do your best. And so that's what I told myself. I kind of gave myself, and I found that I was actually walking more and just being more aware of, just getting steps in, because it really magnifies the results or amps the results up if I do that. But that was tough for me. I was like, I don't know, 2,500 steps or something or whatever. And then I was trying to get, I'm like, well, get to 3,500 and 40, 4,000 and do what I could. So, I think you came off 10,000 for me, and you're like, all right, let's shoot for 8,000. Maybe that's more attainable. And so I'm working towards that. That's going to always be a journey for me. But I'm mindful of it. And I think if there's a message that, I would share with people is, just do your best, just do your best. Be aware, be mindful. Don't beat yourself up too much, but also don't always give yourself a pass, because, if you do, then you're going to let yourself off easy, and so I think it's important to not beat yourself up, but hold yourself accountable. And, cause ultimately it's not you, Arslan, who's going to not be, getting the results and feeling better and so forth. It's me. Or whomever is, listening in or watching this. It's about what we want to get from our life. And ultimately we put our pants on and our shirt on and we go, well, that's us. I mean, there's nobody else doing that for us. What's that? Mama stopped dressing me a long time ago. So
I was sharing with another member earlier today. I'm like, man, if I could just do your workouts and nutrition, if I could just do that for all of my clients, that would be great. And I'm like, but then I would probably also be a zillionaire if I could do that.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it's just like you said. At some point, you've got to put in that actual work aspect to it as well.
Yeah. And then when you're working out, I was working out this morning, and every once in a while, I'm a little older, you get the aches and pains and stuff that, are just part of life's joints and stuff. And so we work through them. But there's times where I start to be like, well, I got to get to 20 reps or something, or I got to get to 12 reps or pull-ups or whatever it is. And I'm like, I don't know if I can do it. And then I just stop myself and I say, just do what you can. So, and you start going, and then you find yourself whenever I'm thinking about stopping, I just say, just one more. That's all. I don't need 2 more. I don't need 4 more, just 1 more. And that doing 1 more, with lots of things in life is really, it's the internal rate of return is huge on that stuff.
I love that. So, I really like that. I'm not sure if you know who Ed Milet is, but he wrote a book called The Power of One More.
Oh, okay. Well, there you go.
And it's exactly what you said. One more in just every area of your life. There's 1% increments compound over time to add up to changes.
Yeah. My nephew, who just graduated from the Annapolis, the Naval Academy, is at he just reported for SEAL training, so he's on the SEAL track. Wow. And so hopefully he'll make it through, and it culminates in January with Hell Week and the whole thing. So he's working on that. He's been preparing for a couple of years to sort of for this this whole process. But we chat once in a while, and with that stuff, it's like for him the mindset is it's just one more step. It's not about running 5 miles on a beach with a boat on your head, carrying it with 6 other guys who are all in agony, or 5 other guys. It's just about taking the next step and the next step. And then after that, and when the waves are rolling up over their head, when they're lying on the water and, to getting tortured or tested or whatever, it's not about how many more waves do we have. It's like, just one more. And that's it. And it's like, so when I work out, I try and think about that a little bit, and have some fun with it.
I love that. I
Yeah.
really love that so much. Especially, it resonates so strongly because I'm actually reading this book. I might have told you it's called "Can't Hurt Me" by David Goggins, who was a
Uh-huh.
Navy SEAL, and he's talking about his experience in Hell Week, and it really lines up with a lot of that philosophy.
Yeah.
I think that's a
Yeah.
huge takeaway for a lot of
Yeah.
people.
It's amazing what we can do as people when we either let ourselves or inspire ourselves and kind of push ourselves a little bit. So
Absolutely.
yeah.
And
It's it's good, man.
yeah. And Anthony, what would you say has been different about this program than anything you've ever tried before in the past?
So um, there's a few things. I told you early on I like structure. It's easier for me to have someone else do some of the thinking for me until I figure out how to think it through and then make it second nature. So I do like the structure and the fact that it's all encompassing, and I do like the fact that it wasn't overwhelming, wasn't easy at all, but it wasn't overwhelming. So I felt like it was manageable and it's very sustainable. And so I was looking for those ingredients or elements in a process. I like the fact that it's while there you have certain structured workouts and certain things, but it's customized to me. So you got a big menu of stuff that you can drop in and change. And we've actually talked about it from time to time. I'm like, well, I want to implement a few other things, and we ebb and flow. And you've brought some things into my workout regimen. And we even did the same thing with meal plans, and we tried a few other things to just experiment a little bit. So I like the fact that it's customizable. I like the fact that we have this access, and that's largely because you don't take vacation. So and you look at your machine all day, but that's another story. Um, we'll fix you, Ursulan. We'll fix you, man. We want you to live the best life you can live and be the best you. Okay, so that's our
The
mission.
student has become the master.
That's our mission here, and collectively, we're gonna gang up on you and get you to live a whole life, not this machine-ridden life where you're just cranking stuff out. So, all right, man.
I like the public accountability. That's
Yeah,
the
that's it.
strongest form of accountability for me.
Yeah. So you sent around that thing the other day or month or whatever it was, where it's like a group where all our workouts are getting shared and stuff.
Yeah.
And I'm like, we're gonna have you put all your daily activities and stuff, and you can share with us so we can make sure you're balanced. So,
Yeah.
but yeah. Oh, I forget what I was saying anyway. But
Yeah, no, you were sharing about what's been different with
yeah,
which you answered thoroughly.
yeah. So
And then I would also love to hear from you if you had to. What would you say was the biggest hurdle? Just the last couple of questions here.
yeah,
What
sure.
would you say has been the biggest hurdle you had to overcome in order to make this investment? Like, what was the biggest fear or reservation you had before taking the leap?
Yeah, well, so I mean, yeah, obviously, there's a financial commitment that goes into it initially, but your mindset. Yeah, I knew I knew what I needed was to make that commitment. So I would early on, I didn't have enough confidence in myself that I wouldn't give myself a pass. But I knew if I did that, it would get me in, and I would be committed to doing it, because then I'm like, all right, that's a poor internal rate of return on actual money, and so
By the way, I love that concept, and I love the way you view not only the return on your money but on your time as well.
yeah on essentially on all aspects of life, because they're all life's a series of I don't know, units or whatever, and just everything we do, if you want to look at it that way. And I'm like, so, I like a perfect case, an example, Halloween is tonight. So I'm working from home this evening, so I can get home a little bit earlier because where the neighborhood I live in, we'll get conservatively would be 750 kids will come to our door, but
Wow. Oh, crap.
easily get over 1,000 kids. It's like a sea of people. And, so to keep myself, usually I'm like, I'm just going to dump all the food, the candy in the first kid, shut the door and go sit down and watch a game or something. But that's not. So, I'm like earlier, I said, get your head right and enjoy the experience and your kids. And so that time that we're going to be giving out candy, I'm going to enjoy it and I'm going to get more out of it. And, try and apply that to other elements of life and all you do. But anyway, so, but that's, just snippet. But when I was exploring, this with you, again, I knew there was going to be some sort of commitment. I was fine with it. And I thought it was important to do. The one thing that I wrestled with early, was internal. And I think you told me one time when we were talking about food and stuff, you're like, you always just leave a little bit of food on your plate, just a little bit. And I said, that's really tough for me. I'm Italian. On every drop of blood of me is Italian. Mom, dad, grandparents, the whole thing. And you get run out of town if you left any food. And it was like, it wasn't just it was everything had to go.
Yeah. And
so that was challenging for me because, for years I would sit there and if my kids didn't finish their tater tots or something, I'm going in, or if they didn't finish whatever it was, there was nothing, with no empty plates. They make it to the fridge or the kitchen and no leftovers. Let's go.
Right.
And that, once I got that under control as we were going, that was big too. And then it actually got me to the point where I didn't need that. And even like a piece of cake or something, I'll have a piece of cake or whatever. I'll get crazy. But, early on when I was trying to calibrate, I'm like, all right, you know what? I was perfectly satisfied with a bite instead of the whole friggin' thing. Yeah. But I had to, convince myself that that's all I needed.
Yeah. Sounds like you built that level of awareness. And Anthony, also just to wrap it up here, as we're coming to a close on our time, could you share just last thoughts in regards to wisdom that you'd like to leave everyone off with here today? Maybe a golden nugget that you can share.
Yeah, I mean, it's just, this is all a uniquely personal process. And, I'm me, you're you, everybody else out there. It's got to be them. So, I think, own what you decide to do. I think having a sense of purpose is really important. Your purpose is what you decide for it to be. There's no right or wrong to it. It's just, but that gives you some sort of clarity and it gives you something to kind of grab hold of, and helps you be you. But we got one life to live. We're here for like a blip in the grand scheme of things. So make it a really good one. That's really it. And how you feel and what you do with yourself, that to me is really going to make the whole journey and your time here just much better. It's you. And anyone can do it. Anyone can do it. Because most of the stuff we deal with is just our own mental obstacles. So just pick your purpose and your path and stick to it. And just do one more. That's it, man.
That's awesome. Wow, Anthony, thank you so much, man. I can't thank you enough for joining us today and for sharing and imparting all of the wisdom, but also sharing your story in every aspect. Man, I remember when I was sitting with you having lunch, I was just like, I wish I brought a notepad and a pen. Like, there's so many golden nuggets this guy is sharing with me here today.
Well, and you've had some great speakers on here, by the way. I mean, I love some of your connections back to your school, high school and stuff, and just the people. And I mean, those guys are great. I was a little unnerved when you talked to me about, like, let's get together and talk. But I'm like, mean, you've had some really good people and strong presenters and with really neat stuff and great stories. I'm like, I'm going to bore
You're in
people
the
to death.
circle of champions, Anthony.
Yeah.
Join our circle of champions. Cool, man.
All right, brother. Well, thank you.
Of course. And I just want to thank everyone for watching. Again, we are donating $10 for each comment and share that you leave. And there are no limits to the amount of comments or shares that any individual person can leave, up to $1,000. We will be donating to an organization that helps with special needs children, and we will disclose the organization shortly. So thank you all for watching. If you found this valuable, there are a couple of ways that you can help. One is you can like or heart this video. And then again, two is you can comment and share. That way we can have others also find value from it as well. Thanks so much for tuning in. Anthony, thank you again for joining us. And we will see you in our next video.
Thanks. Bye.